You are disappointing us. Why do you want our ruin? Do you want to do it by yourself? You cannot. Mattathias Maccabee did not refuse the help of the Hasidians, and Judas freed Israel with their assistance. Accept! Now and again they all shout this word together. Jesus does not yield. One of the elders, a very old man, talks in a low voice to a priest and a scribe, both older than he is. They come forward and impose silence. The old scribe, who has called near him also Eleazar, and the two scribes named John, begins to speak. Lord, why will you not put on the crown of Israel? Because it is not mine. I am not the son of a Hebrew prince. Lord, perhaps you do not know. One day I was summoned with these two, because 3 wise men had come asking, where was he who was born king of the Jews? See, born king. We, the chief priests and scribes of the people, were summoned by Herod the Great to give the reply, and Hillel the just was with us. Our answer was, at Bethlehem in Judah. We are told that you were born there, and great signs occurred at your birth. Among your disciples are some witnesses of them. Can you deny that you were worshipped as king by the 3 wise men? I do not deny it. Can you deny that miracles precede you, accompany you, and follow you as a sign from heaven? I do not deny it. Can you deny that you are the promised Messiah? I do not deny it. Well then, in the name of the living God, why do you want to deceive the hopes of the people? I have come to accomplish the hopes of God. Which? The redemption of the world, the formation of the kingdom of God. My kingdom is not of this world. Lay aside your wealth and your weapons. Open your eyes and spirits to read the scriptures and prophets and to receive my truth, and you will have the kingdom of God within you. No, the scriptures mention a king, liberator, from satanic slavery, from sin, from error, from the flesh, from gentilism, from idolatry. Oh, what did Satan do to you, O Hebrews, wise people, to make you fall into error concerning the prophetic truths? What is he doing to you, O Hebrews, my brothers, to make you so blind? What is he doing to you, my disciples, that you as well no longer understand? The greatest misfortune of a people and of a believer is to fall into false interpretation of signs, and such misfortune is taking place now. Personal interests, prejudice, craziness, false love of the fatherland, everything helps to create the abyss of error in which a people will perish, failing to recognize its king. You are failing to recognize yourself. You are failing to recognize yourselves and me. I am not a human king, and you, 3/4 of you who are gathered here, want to harm me, not to help me, and you are aware of that. You are acting out of hatred, not out of love. But I forgive you. I say to honest-hearted people, come to your senses. Do not be the unconscious servants of evil. Let me go. There is nothing further to be said. They all become silent, greatly surprised. Eleazar says, I am not hostile to you. I thought I was doing the right thing, and I am not the only one. Some good friends think as I do. I know, but tell me, and be sincere. What does Gamaliel say? The rabbi? He says, yes, he says, the Most High will give the sign if he is his Christ. He is right. And what does Joseph the elder say? That you are the Son of God, and will reign as God. Joseph is a just man. And Lazarus of Bethany? He suffers. He does not say much, but he says that you will reign only when our spirits receive you. Lazarus is wise. When your spirits receive me, for the time being you, as well as those whom I consider to be well-disposed spirits, are not accepting the king and the kingdom, and that is what grieves me. In brief, are you going to refuse? Shout many. You have said it. You have made us compromise ourselves. You are harming us. You, shout others, Herodians, scribes, Pharisees, Sadducees, priests. Jesus leaves the table and goes towards the group, darting glances at them. What flashing eyes! They unintentionally become silent and press against the wall. Jesus goes really face to face with them, and in a low voice, but with incisiveness cutting like a slash, he says, it is written, a curse on him who strikes down his neighbor in secret, and accepts a bribe to take an innocent life. I say to you, I forgive you. But your sin is known to the Son of Man. If I did not forgive you, many people in Israel were incinerated by Jehovah for much less. But he is so terrible in saying so that no one dares move. And Jesus moves aside the double heavy curtain and goes out into the hall without anyone daring to take a gesture. Only when the curtain stops waving, that is, after a few minutes, they rouse. We must reach him. We must hold him, say the most enraged ones. We must get him to forgive us, say with a sigh the better ones, that is, Manaen, Timaeus, some proselytes, the man from Bozrah, in brief, the honest-hearted ones. They rush out of the room. They look for him. They ask servants, "The master, where is he?" The master, no one has seen him, not even those who were at the 2 doors in the hall. He is nowhere. With torches and lamps they search for him in the shadows of the garden, in the room where he had rested. He is not there, neither can they find the mantle he had left on the bed, or the bag which had been left in the hall. "He has escaped from us. He is a Satan." No, he is God. He does what he likes. He will betray us. No, he will know us for what we are. The clamor of different opinions and reciprocal insults. The good ones shout, "You have led us astray. Traitors! We should have imagined all this." The wicked ones, that is the majority, reply threateningly, and having lost the scapegoat and thus being unable to assail it, the two groups fight against each other. And where is Jesus? I see him, of his own accord, when he is very far away, near the bridge across the inlet of the Jordan. He is walking fast as if he were carried by the wind. His hair is waving round his pale face, and his mantle is flapping like a sail as he walks with vigorous strides. Then, when he is sure that he is at a good distance, he plunges into the bog grass near the shore and takes the eastern bank, and as soon as he finds the first rocks of the high cliff, he begins to climb up, heedless of the danger in climbing the cliffy coast in faint light. He climbs up as far as a rock, jutting over the lake, and watched over by an age-old oak tree. He sits down there. He rests an elbow on one of his knees, and his chin in the palm of his hand, and staring with his eyes at the darkening, vast expanse, just visible mainly because of his white garments and the pallor of his face, he keeps still. But someone has followed him. John. John is half naked. That is, he is wearing the short tunic of fishermen. His hair is stiff and smooth, as is typical of people who have been in water. He is panting, and nevertheless wan. He approaches his Jesus slowly. He seems a shadow sliding on the rugged cliff. He stops not very far away. He watches Jesus. He does not move. He looks like a rock, fixed to the rock. His dark tunic makes him even more inconspicuous. Only his face and bare legs and arms can just be seen in the darkness of the night. But when he hears, rather than sees, Jesus weep, he can resist no longer, and he approaches him, and then calls him, "Master." Jesus hears the whisper and looks up. He gathers his clothes, ready to flee. But John shouts, "What have they done to you, Master, that you no longer recognize John?" And Jesus recognizes his beloved. He stretches out his arms, and John throws himself into them, and they both weep over 2 different sorrows, and one only, love. When their weeping subsides, Jesus is the first to see things clearly. He feels and sees John half naked with a damp tunic, frozen and barefooted. "How come you are here in this state? Why are you not with the others?" "Oh, don't scold me, Master. I could not stay. I could not let you go. I took my clothes off, everything except this. I dived into the lake, and I swam back to Tarichea. And from there I ran along the shore to the bridge, and then I followed you. I remained in the ditch near the house, ready to come to help you, or at least to know whether they abducted or harmed you. And I heard many voices quarreling. Then I saw you run past me. You looked like an angel. To follow you without losing sight of you, I fell into ditches and bogs, and I'm all covered in mud. I must have soiled your mantle. I have been watching you since you came here. Were you weeping? What have they done to you, my lord? Did they insult you? Did they strike you?" "No. They wanted to make me king. A poor king, John. And many were in good faith. They were acting out of love for a good purpose. Most of them, to be able to denounce me and get rid of me." "Who are they?" "Do not ask. And the others? Do not ask their names either. You must not hate or criticize. I forgive." "Master, were there any disciples? Tell me just that." "Yes, there were." "And apostles?" "No, John, no apostle." "Really, Lord?" "Really, John." "Ah, May the Lord be praised for that. But why are you still weeping, Lord? I am with you. I love you on behalf of everybody. And also Peter, Andrew, and the others. When they saw me dive into the lake, they said that I was mad. And Peter was furious, and my brother said that I wanted to get drowned in the whirlpools. But later they understood, and they shouted to me, May God be with you. Go, go, we love you. But no one loves you as much as I do, although I am only a poor boy. Yes, no one like you. You are cold, John. Come here under my mantle. No, at your feet, thus. My master, why does everybody not love you as much as the poor boy who is I? Jesus draws him upon his heart, sitting beside him, because they do not have your heart of a child. They wanted to make you king, but have they not understood yet that your kingdom is not of this earth? They have not understood. Without mentioning any names, tell me all about it, Lord. But will you not tell me what I tell you? But will you not tell what I tell you? If you do not want, Lord, I will not mention it. You will make no mention of it, except when men want to present me as a common popular leader. That will happen one day. You will be there, and you shall say, He was not a king of the earth, because he did not want to be one, because his kingdom was not of this world. He was the Son of God, the incarnate Word, and he could not accept what belongs to the earth. He wanted to come into the world and take a body to redeem bodies and souls and the world, but he was not subjected to the pomp of the world or to the incentives of sin, and there was nothing sensual and worldly in him. The light was not enveloped in darkness. The infinite did not accept finite things, but of creatures limited by flesh and sin, he made creatures more like himself, by elevating those who believed in him to true royalty, and founding his kingdom in the hearts of men before founding it in heaven, where it will be complete and eternal with all those who have been saved. You shall say that, John, to all those who consider me entirely a human being, and to those who maintain that I am entirely spiritual, to those who deny that I was subject to temptation and to grief. You shall tell men that the Redeemer wept, and that they, men, were redeemed also by my tears. Yes, Lord, how much you are suffering, Jesus. How much I redeem, but you console me in my suffering. We shall depart from here at dawn. We shall find a boat. If I say to you that we shall be able to proceed without oars, will you believe me? I would believe you even if you said that we can go without a boat. They remain embraced, enveloped only in Jesus' mantle, and John, tired as he is, ends up by falling asleep in the warmth, like a child in its mother's arms. Jesus says, 31st of July, 1946, Jesus says, "It is for upright-hearted people that this evangelical page, unknown and so explanatory, is given." John, when writing his gospel after many years, alludes briefly to the fact. He reveals to men this detail of which they were unaware, and he thus obeys the wish of his master, whose divine nature he illustrates more clearly than any other evangelist, and he reveals it with the virginal demureness which enveloped all his actions and words, with discreet, humble modesty. John, to whom I confided the gravest events of my life, never made any pretentious displays of my favors. On the contrary, if you read him properly, you will see that he seems to suffer in revealing them, and to say, "I must say this because it is true and it exalts my Lord, but please forgive me if I have to appear as being the only one aware of it." And he concisely mentions the detail known to him alone. Read the first chapter of his Gospel, in which he tells of his meetings with me. John the Baptist was once again with two of his disciples. Hearing this, the two disciples, Andrew, the brother of Simon Peter, was one of the two who had heard the words of John and had followed Jesus, the first to be met by Andrew. He makes no mention of himself. On the contrary, he hides behind Andrew, whom he brings into prominence. He was with me at Cana, and he says, Jesus was with his disciples, and his disciples believed in him. It was the others who were in need to believe. He already believed, but he puts himself with the others, as if he needed to see miracles in order to believe. Although he was a witness to the first expulsion of dealers from the temple, to the discourse with Nicodemus, to the episode of the Samaritan woman, he never says, "I was there," but he maintains the policy he had adopted at Cana, and says, "his disciples." Also, when he was alone or with another companion. And he continues thus, never mentioning his name, always putting his companions forward, as if he had not been the most faithful, the always faithful, and perfectly faithful disciple. Remember how delicately he refers to the episode of the Last Supper, as it shows that he was the favorite, and was recognized as such also by the others who apply to him when they want to be informed of the secrets of the Master. So the disciples began to look at one another, wondering which he meant. One of the disciples, the one Jesus loved, was leaning on his breast. Simon Peter signed to him and asked, "To whom is he referring?" And he, leaning as he was on Jesus' breast, asked him, "Who is it, Lord?" Neither does he mention his name as being called into Gethsemane with Peter and James. He does not even say, "I followed the Lord." He says, Simon Peter and another disciple followed him. And as this disciple was known to the high priest, he went with Jesus into the high priest's palace. Without John, I would not have had the comfort of seeing him and Peter during the first hours after I had been captured. But John does not boast about it. One of the main personages during the hours of my passion, the only apostle to be lovingly, pitifully, heroically present near the Christ, near his mother, in front of the unchecked fury of Jerusalem, he leaves out his name also in the outstanding episode of the crucifixion and of the words of the dying Christ, "Woman, this is your son, this is your mother." He is the disciple, the nameless one, which no other name but the one which is his glory after being his vocation, the disciple. Even after the honor of becoming the son of the Mother of God, he does not become elated in describing the resurrection. He says once again, Peter and the other apostle, who had been informed by Mary of Lazarus of the empty tomb, came out and went. They ran, but the other disciple ran faster than Peter and arrived first. And he bent down and saw, but did not go in. A gesture of gentle humility. He, the favorite, the faithful disciple, lets Peter, the chief, although a cowardly sinner, enter first. He does not judge him. He is his pontiff. Nay, he supports him with his holiness, because also chiefs may need. They do actually need subjects to support them. How many subjects are better than their chiefs? O holy subjects, never refuse to be pitiful towards your chiefs, who bend under the weight which they cannot bear, or who are made blind or inebriated by the vanity of honors. O holy subjects, be the Simons of Cyrene for your superiors, and you too, my little John, because I am speaking to you on behalf of everybody, of all the Johns who run ahead and lead the Peters, and then stop, letting them go in, out of respect for their office, and who, oh, what a masterpiece of humility, in order to not mortify the Peters, who are not capable of understanding and believing, go as far as to appear and make people believe that they also are as dull and incredulous as the Peters. Read the last episode on the Lake of Tiberias. Once again it is John who, repeating the gesture made several times, recognizes the Lord in the man standing on the shore, and after sharing food together in Peter's question, "And what about him? He is still the disciple, nothing else." He humbles himself in everything concerning him. But when there is something to be said which may make the incarnate Word of God shine with a brighter and brighter divine light, then John lifts the veil and reveals a secret. In the 6th chapter of his Gospel, he says, when he realized that they wanted to abduct him to make him king, he escaped back to the hill by himself. And that hour in the life of the Christ is made known to believers, so that they may know that the Christ was subjected to manifold and complex temptations and struggles in his several distinctive features of man, Master, Messiah, Redeemer, King, and that men and Satan, the eternal instigator of men, spared the Christ no deceit to diminish, demolish, and destroy him. Satanic and human wickedness assailed the man, the eternal priest, the Master as well as the Lord, disguised with pretexts most acceptable as good ones, and they teased and tempted all the passions of the citizen, of the patriot, of the son, of the man, to find a weak spot upon which they might act. O my children, who ponder only on the initial temptation and the last one, and consider only the last part of my work of Redeemer to be fatigue, and only my last hours to be grievous, and my last experience bitter and disappointing. Take my place for an hour, and imagine that it is you that they propose peace with compatriots, their help, the possibility of accomplishing the necessary purifications to impart sanctity to your beloved country, the possibility of restoring and gathering together the scattered limbs of Israel, to put an end to sorrow, serfdom, and sacrifice. I only ask you to have my heart of man for 1 hour, and tell me, how would you feel after the alluring proposal? Triumphers, faithful to the divine idea, or rather defeated? And would you come out of it more holy and spiritual than ever? Or would you destroy yourselves by ascending to temptation or yielding to threats? And with what heart would you come out of it, after verifying to what extent Satan urged his armies to wound me in my mission and in my affections, leading astray on the wrong way my good disciples, and compelling me to openly fight my enemies, by now unmasked and made furious by the fact that their plots had been found out? Do not stand with compasses and small measuring vessels, with microscope and human science, with pedantic reasoning of scribes, trying to measure, compare, and discuss whether John has spoken the truth, and to what extent this or that is true. Do not superimpose John's sentence on the episode shown yesterday to ascertain whether the outlines fit properly. John did not make a mistake out of senile weakness. Neither did little John make a mistake out of weakness in illness. The latter related what she saw. Great John, many years after the event, told what he knew, and subtly linking together places and events, he revealed the secret of which he alone was aware, of the attempt perpetrated maliciously at the coronation of the Christ. At Tarichaea, after the first miracle of the loaves, the people began to think of making the rabbi from Nazareth king of Israel. Manaen, the scribe, and many more people were present, and as they were still spiritually imperfect, but honest-hearted, they picked up the idea and supported it to honor the Master, to put an end to the unfair fight against him, owing to an error in interpreting the Scriptures, an error spread all over Israel, blinded with dreams of human regality. They also hoped to sanctify the fatherland, contaminated by many things, and many, as was natural, welcomed the idea in a simple manner, and many pretended underhand to welcome it in order to harm me. Hatred against me joined the latter together, making them forget their hatred of castes, which had always divided them, and they entered into an alliance to tempt me, in order to give a legal appearance to the crime already settled in their hearts. They were hoping in my weakness and in my pride, and my pride and weakness, and my consequent acceptance of the crown they offered me, would justify the charges they wanted to bring against me. And later they would serve to give peace to their sly spirits, feeling remorse, because they would say to themselves, hoping to be able to relieve it, it was Rome, not us, who punished the Nazarene agitator. The legal elimination of their enemy, such was the Savior to them. These are the reasons for the attempted proclamation. That is the explanation of their subsequent, more bitter hatred. And that, finally, is the sublime lesson of the Christ. Do you understand it? It is a lesson of humility, of justice, of obedience, of strength, of prudence, of loyalty, of forgiveness, of patience, of vigilance, of endurance towards God, towards one's mission, towards friends, towards daydreamers, towards enemies, towards Satan, towards those men who are his instruments of temptation, towards things, towards ideas. Everything is to be contemplated, accepted, rejected, loved or not loved, looking at the holy aim of man, heaven, the will of God. Little John, this has been one of Satan's hours for me. As the Christ had them, so will the little Christs have them. One must suffer them and overcome them with humility and confidence. They are not without a purpose, and a good purpose. But be not afraid. During such hours, God does not forsake, but he supports those who are faithful. Then love descends to make the faithful ones kings, and even more, when the hour of the earth is over, the faithful ones ascend to the kingdom in peace forever, victorious forever. My peace, little John, crowned with thorns, my peace.